Hello and welcome to my channel on human design. This is the channel where the viewers ask me questions and I respond to them. And that's been working pretty well over the last few months. Although we have some pretty strange questions have come through this week. So I'm going to be a bit unconventional. And I usually have the questions shown as a slide, and then I answer the questions afterwards. But for this first one from Nina, there's a lot of bitty bits in the questions, so I thought I will just read them out and answer them as I go. Hello, I'm new to variables in human design, and they are quite intriguing to me. Back in time, writing with left hand was considered wrong. They forced left-handed children to write, eat with the right hand. Now it is considered okay to be left-handed. Yes, I'm well aware of that, Nina. I was one of those left-handers that used to get hit with a ruler whenever I used my left hand to write with, which was pretty annoying. You know, you're in the middle of trying to write something and you're thinking about the meaning and the way you do it and getting it through, and then you get slapped by a ruler. So, yes, they didn't completely condition me, though. I still throw better with my left hand than my right hand. I even tried getting a violin made for a left-handed person to get me to go back to that time, to try and re-educate the body back to where it was. It really didn't work. I couldn't stand the sound of my own playing. I love the sound of other people's playing, and made the third line mistake thinking that I could also do it, but no, not a chance. Anyway, did you maybe notice some connection between left-handed people and orientation of variables of human design? No, I haven't seen any correlation. I've seen both right-handers and left-handers being both right and left. If you look from a human design variables perspective, what other characteristics of children or people in general you think will be accepted as ordinary, okay, and are now considered not optimal, wrong, or even pathological? I guess from a variables perspective, I would have to point to the quadruple rights, because after all, they are the variable that is the closest to the adaptation that's coming. And they're, you know, passive and receptive. So they don't quite fit with the norm in the fact that they don't really want to do a lot. They don't want to move a lot. Of course, they will fight that and do too much and exhaust themselves. But it would be nice for people to recognize the quadrites and to recognize them for the resource they are, that they take in everything. And when you go to them and when you ask them questions, there's all kinds of information that they have that they don't even know they have until you draw it out of them. So I would like to see that be acknowledged in society. That would help them and that would help us. I was wondering, when it comes to human design for children, wouldn't it be better to start educating parents about dietary regime and environment very early on? Yes, Nina, it would. I've been talking about it for 20 years since Rob first brought it out. I'm doing my best, as I'm sure are human design professionals out there that know about it. We've been trying. We've been trying. It would be better. Yes. In my experience with infants and other parents, in the beginning, it is all about eating, calming the baby, environment, question mark, and sleeping. Okay, sleep is connected to the sacral. Not completely. Not completely. I mean, you ask anyone with a fixed head and ajna, you know, if they sleep well, and a lot of them will have difficulties. So that's a bit of a generalization. But yes, it is about eating and it is about the environment. And that is part of the human design approach to raising children in their truth. But can you imagine what kind of conditioning receives an infant who has indirect dietary regime? In other words, they eat at night. Or a pressure that a child receives because she picks only carrots from the risotto, consecutive stroke alternating. Yes, I can imagine what that's like. I can. And I know a lot of nocturnals, and they seem to manage. You know, if they're dedicated to the truth, they want to run the experiment, and they give it a go. And most of the ones that I know that are doing it well, they get up about midday, they go to bed about 3 in the morning, and they eat when the sun goes down. And as a result of that, they have better brain function and better physical function. But you've got to go into the experiment. And yes, it is a bit weird compared to people that don't have a nocturnal um, regime, but you know what to do. You if that's your design, you've got to give it a go. And those that do benefit, and those that don't and bend to the conditioning of the collective, then yeah, it doesn't really work for them. Happens all the time. It takes a really conscious and trusting parent to support this kind of feeding, and maybe it would be easier for parents to accept that when they would know that. Yes, it would. And we're trying to tell them, we're trying to get it out there. Now, parents are aware of unconventional feeding patterns, find it wrong, try to change it. By doing so, they diminish the child's awareness of themselves early on. Yes, they do. How can a child trust or even feel their authority when their body brain is already destabilized, out of sync? I can't find a better word for it, in the first months of life. Well, they have difficulty, Nina. They do. I mean, I'm a daylight eater, and I was 2 months premature, and I was put in an incubator inside with horrendous artificial light on me for the first 2 months of my life. And yes, it did screw me up, and I had to find a way through it, and it wasn't easy. Luckily, I've got the channel of struggle. But yeah, it's not easy, and a lot of people don't overcome it. In my case, I kind of knew there was something wrong, and I knew there was a greater truth out there. So in a way, you know, I found my way through by realizing that, yeah, I was screwed up and I didn't know why, and no one else did either. So I had to find out. There you go, you know, different lives, different backgrounds. Anyway, thank you for your stimulating statements and questions, and I hope they've been useful to those people listening to them, and so too I hope my responses have. The next question, we're going to go into a bit of a chart analysis. Question from Noah about his career. My question is pertaining to being a mental projector. I've been in my experiment a little over a year now. I've been allowing myself rest and conserving energy. I have my own room, which is very much like a cave with no windows and only one entrance. He has a blending caves environment. About a year ago, I dropped everything and decided to just stop. Good for you. Began studying human design and doing my best to apply the principles. So far, invitations have gotten better as I have been waiting for them. However, I am in search of a new career that is not so physically demanding. I love to speak and express ideas. I am a musician at heart, and I've had much success in past years as a performer, back when I lived where there were a multitude of gigs to be had. But lately, I've most consistently been a licensed massage therapist, handyman, remodeling, renovation contractor, due to the consistent income levels I've been able to achieve in the area where I now live. I'm always using my hands, and it seems I cannot get away from it. I know that projectors are well suited to become a master of a system. I've always learned a little bit about many things, and I definitely fit the description of a jack of all trades, maybe more than anyone I know. I figure things out as I go in order to do what is right in front of me. I don't consider myself a master of anything. I wonder what less physically demanding career path might be ideal for me to pivot into based on my chart. I'd love to work from home in my hermit cave. Ha. Okay, Noah. So look, I think you've done a pretty good job. You have, your determination is calm and touch. So actually being a massage therapist, you do bring calm. You do have this ability to touch and bring calm to your clients. And that's natural for you. So well done on that. But also well done on realizing that as a mental projector, doing massage as a living is going to be exhausting. I know a number of projectors, not even mental projectors, who can do that work until they're around early 40s, and then it becomes very, very difficult to maintain. So you're right, you've got to find an exit route. And in terms of being a contractor, again, you've got a certain precision about you, and you are a jack of all trades. You have done many things and you're good at it. But yeah, it's too physically demanding. So you're absolutely right. I mean, you've really honed into the nub of it. And yes, I agree that you are a musician at heart. There's a lot of music in you. We can see the fifth gate in the personality earth. Again, it's in an open sacral, but it's still there. And we've got the 9th gate, we've got the 16th gate, we've got the 62nd gate. There's a lot of logic aspects that are either open or within the chart. So there's a certain precision about you. And bearing in mind what you've said to me, I would have thought you just got to spin it around a bit. Instead of being a contractor, you know, maybe you're the guy that designs what a building could be in terms of renovation. There's a lot of very good software out there, and I know, or I've seen architects that offer their services to do a design for someone who has bought a dilapidated building and they want to make it into something really cool. So they design it. And if that's of interest to you, it may well be of interest to you, bearing in mind the chart that I'm looking at. Then you could design it. And if they like the design, then you are the one that chooses the contractors that actually do the work. You don't have to be doing the work. You choose them. You know, you've got this finicky, pernickety side to you, you know, that really wants to, you know, get good people to do a good job. So you're going to have to find them. But, you know, you can be good at asking the questions. You can be good at expanding your network to those people who do that kind of work. You probably already know some of them already in your area. And choose your team. You're a 2-4, so you know, with no motors. So to have a good team that, you know, that comes to you and you show them the plans and you explain what it is that you want done and what's really important and what they have to pay attention to. You can also be good at having a pretty good idea about how long it should take them, so you don't get ripped off by some of the dodgy builders that we've got in England anyway, and probably all over the world. You know, you'll have an idea, you'll have a way of measuring how long it should take. And if things go wrong, as they often do, well, then you can take that into account as well. But really, for you to be the one that directs what happens, and perhaps if it's your idea in the first place, your creativity can come out in that way as well. And while you're at home, while they're working, you can be playing your music and getting that out. You know, understanding that, you know, as you do your chart, why not do both? There's a certain diversity that's also in the chart that needs to come out. Fragmentation in the 23-4 and the the 35th gate that you've already mentioned. So yeah, I think that would be good. So not you as contractor, but you as the one who manages the contractors. And every now and again, you go in and you check and see what they've done. You let them know when you're going to check so they know how long they've got. You know, you should be pretty good at finding ways to motivate the particular people that you've got on site. And manage them. It's not something that's consistently there, but you do have the 44th gate, the personnel manager in the 4th line, as a potential wisdom And since you've already been out there doing lots of different work and meeting lots of people, and you might be quite good at that, being able to manage them well. I mean, a mental projector, in a way, is a projector that can guide even projectors, other projectors. It's a very it's a design that can be extremely good, and you've got this efficiency built into you as well. So I think if you think in those kind of ways, how you can make money by getting other people to do the work in a field that you're already familiar with, and not to forget the music, to give yourself a life after all. And furthermore, the 35 also likes traveling. I know you want to live in your cave, but there's another part of you that enjoys the change, and you could renovate places in other countries as well. And that might also bring you in funds and give you a nice holiday. So in a nutshell, that's what I see. Remember, you're a 2. So as a second line, you should be having fun. There should be more of a playful life. And if you've got the energy to play because you're not working so hard, I think you'll have a lovely life. Okay, that's my 2 penny worth, and I hope you enjoyed that. I hope that's been useful. Thank you for the question. And now we go into some of the weird stuff with a question from one of our regulars, Alves, who asks, I was thinking about the personality crystals and how they may have changed to adapt to the mutation of the human beings. Since human beings used to have 7 centers, but now have 9 centers, does that mean the personality crystals evolved in order to be able to be combined with the new 9-centered beings? Or did we have the exact same 64 gates and 7-centered beings, and they just changed positions within the centers to match the new centers when the mutation happened? We probably always had 64 gates, and this may sound like a silly question, but I want you to understand this 7 to 9 mutation better. What really changed in us physically and mentally, and how it may have affected the personality crystals? I've always heard that the personality crystals are the same since the beginning of times, and that the thing that mutated is the number of centers in the body. But since we have gates channels defined by both personality side and design side, it means that perhaps our gates on the personality side used to define gates and channels for the 7-centered beings. So maybe our personality qualities were a little different. And now that we have 9 centers and our personality side is also involved in defining our gates and channels, does this mean that the personality crystal qualities also evolved, adapted? Did Ra Uru Hu ever talk about the evolution of the personality crystals? Or did he just talk about the mutation of the design? Well, Albers, you certainly throw some interesting questions at me. I haven't really thought about it before. Ra did say that the consciousness of the totality isn't really that interested in the personality crystals. It's more the design crystals. The consciousness is all about moving towards the perfected form to be able to contain higher levels of awareness. And as I've said in a previous video, this human body is pretty transitory. It doesn't live that long. All kinds of things can kill it, and not an ideal container for consciousness. It's really about the big story when we're talking about the totality and getting to that perfected form. So Ra did say the personality crystals are kind of secondary. So let's not make too big a thing out of how important the personality crystals are. They're here to experience consciousness within the form that they inhabit. And if that form changes from 7 to 9, then they're experiencing that. And as you can see in the world, they're having a hard time. I mean, people are having a hard time in these 9 centers. They don't really know what to do with them. I'm sure they will be inhabited and used probably better by the raves that are coming in 2027. Does it mean that the personality crystals have adapted? Ra didn't say anything about that as far as I know. And I think our understanding of what the personality crystals are is probably limited. I mean, after all, they only have self-reflected consciousness if they're within a form. Does it mean that we've always had 64 gates? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think that's particularly necessary. If two centers were added, and the odds are that the two centers that were added were the probably the will and the solar plex. So in that sense, we didn't have all the gates. And indeed, when you think about it, the Eon, that is the form that is coming after the raves, they only have about, I think it's 37 gates. I can't remember exactly, but a lot less gates than the 64. So within what Ra has told us, I don't think it is necessarily true that there were 64 gates in the seven-centered being. There isn't going to be in the Eon. I don't see why there should be in the seven-centered. And no, he never talked about the evolution of the personality crystal. He did say that the personality crystal isn't really a personality crystal. It's more like a design crystal, but it kind of acts as a kind of pseudo personality crystal in our form. And it's not going to be for a very long time before the real unifying personality crystal comes into this Maya. Yeah, I think I'll leave it there. I hope that's been somewhat helpful in addressing your question. Thank you. And another strange question from BAVC92. This is their question. Ra said that due to the fact that most people don't de-incarnate properly, that most people who are alive right now are actually on their first lives. I also remember him saying something about completely open centers being the ones we already mastered in previous lives, which doesn't make sense to me and is the opposite of what that last asker remembers. But I don't remember which lecture I got that from, and also I have the 4323. So I'll leave that as doubtful. Very, very wise. Yes, he did say that one of the biggest problems is that a lot of people have not died correctly. In other words, they haven't died naturally. And in that sense, their personality crystals have not gone to the crystal bundles where they would normally go after death, because they didn't get picked up. And there is evidence from other things that he said that strange things happen in certain places because of it. And that the personality crystals who are not picked up bundle together and move across the face of the earth, bumping into some of us, or we walk into them. Him saying about the open centers are the ones, the completely open centers are the ones that we have already mastered in past lives. I don't remember him ever saying that. And whether he said that or not, if you've got a completely open center, you also have to, in this incarnation, have to come to terms with the fact that you are very vulnerable in that center until you get a handle on it. So there will be some realignment in this life, whatever went on in the past lives. In terms of saying that there are a lot of first-timers here in incarnation this time, I don't know. I mean, if that's what the information he got through, I don't know. I have no way of really knowing. I also remember him saying, yeah, well, there are no old souls. We're all, we all came in at the same time, So he's also said that. So I wouldn't spend much time thinking about it. Is my is my answer. Life is too short. There's certain things you can't know until you know, and I think this is one of them. So we have another question, this time from the projector, Alan Carter. It came to me through my open head that it could be that us projectors are managing the energy frequency change from planning to Phoenix, question mark. Me with 3 motors, my partner and many other projectors I'm in contact with are exhausted, even upon waking through the day also. So I wondered, are we here as energy guides to usher in the new era and also to guide others into it? Is this a part of what projectors were created for? And also to appreciate the work my brothers and sisters are doing, and maybe even ask for some energetic support. Internal Reality 786 says, I'm also interested in this, having very similar experience. Is this energetic shift potentially affecting the pituitary thyroid gland axis and the body's metabolic rate? Thanks. There is a lot going on. There is a lot of things going on out there. And it's not just projectors that are going through it. There's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of frustration, there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of change, there's a lot of instability, there's a lot of this and that going on. And it is exhausting, I think, for everyone, is what I would say. And in terms of projectors ushering through the new energy, I think you're suffering probably more than most, as you are testament to. Because at least the generators have a chance to keep on plodding through up to a point anyway. So I don't think we should get too carried away with our role in all this. You know, my point of view is let's see if we can survive it, eh? Let's see if we can survive it and stay in balance and be more aware of what's going on. That would be my approach. And conserve your energy and find ways to support yourself with some of the wonderful things that are coming out in terms of healthcare and some of the new technology that's coming out or that is already out. I'll put a link to something I'm experimenting with at the moment and have found to be very good. Even for a manifesting generator, and also in terms of balancing and helping to balance me through these changes. And there'll be a link below, or I might even put it in the video so you can check it out. So I'd be looking for some of the advances to look after your energy. I would be aware of as I've mentioned many times on this channel, the EMF pollution and the increase in EMF waves and the frequencies that are being used that I am noticing and measuring. So that's going to drain a lot of people too. You know, your phones, your computers, your modems, the things that are around you that you're taking for granted, they're affecting you and they are sluicing some of your energy. And the gadgets are getting even more capable of doing that. So I would put that in one of the main reasons why we're feeling exhausted, apart from all the confusion and the toing and froing by many of the government leaders out there. And yeah, for sure, it'll affect the pituitary and thyroid gland access and other things, the metabolic rate. There are many things that are being affected in our bodies due to some of the technological advances that people are so delighted about. You know, I'm old-fashioned in some ways. You know, I like to get involved with trends that I think are going to be positive for people, but my old-fashionedness is basically you can't beat nature. If you spend time in nature, nature has the 15-5 within it. It has, you know, the rhythm of life within it. And I think most people, if not all people, will feel better if they spend a bit of time in the countryside without all the hassle, without all the gadgets, looking for ways to rebalance, looking for ways to get rid of toxins out of the body. These are things that I would be paying attention to, rather than looking at what's happening as a planetary shift that we are part of in the kind of the metaphysical realms. You need to look after your bodies at this time. You need to be careful what you're eating and what's around you. That's my view. Anyway, thank you for the questions, both of you. And now for our final question, another weird question from Alves. I am a 6'2" splenic projector, also with the 4323. So this question from the other viewer sounded like something I should have asked myself. Aha, I really get it. But besides that, I have the 61st gate 4 times. So mysterious unknown things like past lives, the origins of the universe, what is beyond space, and even human design itself as a complex system where we are influenced and conditioned by energies we still don't understand completely, and what is the end goal, etc. These kinds of topics really intrigue me. So I had to ask, do you think it's a good thing to see our past lives through hypnosis, for example? Or should we just leave it alone? As a 6th line, from what I understand, my karma and the people I meet in this life may be connected to previous lives. But would it be wise to try and understand my previous lives and how I was connected to those people, for example? Or would that disturb my present life too much? I'm curious about it, about the mystery. But there is always the fear that it may not even be helpful, and it may just disturb me and my relations with people now. What do you think, Richard? Well, Alves, I think you should leave it alone unless you're invited into it. You know, if there's an aspect of a past life that comes to you in a person, and it's important to them, and they're close to you, or they're a client or a friend, then you go into it. And how you would go into it as a splenic projector would be basically to tune into the present and see evidence of it coming out of them in the present. The karmic bit with the 6th line, I mean, really it's the 5th line that has a very strong karmic link. The 5th line and the 6th line are both transpersonal, but in my view, the transpersonal part of the 6th line is in them being a role model, in other people seeing what it is to be someone in their own integrity. In that sense, you are transpersonal. And in that sense, you can be very transpersonal and aid others as they can see that you are living in integrity when many around you are not. But past lives, I mean, there are certain aspects of the chart where past lives do present themselves to the people that have those aspects. And again, I'm one of those people. So I have experienced some parts of my past lives. Can't say I've got the whole row of them the way Ra claimed that he saw all of them coming one after another, and how tedious it was after a while. You know, I've just had a few glimpses and of mine and also other people's, and yes, it has led to some quite dynamic consequences and results. But that's part of what I bumped into. So go digging around it. I think it's too much fodder for the mind, you know. The mind loves all that stuff, and you can have all kinds of ideas. I can't tell you how many Mary Queen of Scots I bumped to when I was a younger man. You know, we go, I was Mary Queen of Scots. You know, it was all the rage for some reason. So yeah, I would leave it. I would leave it alone unless it comes to you. You know, unless there's something about past lives in the present that comes to you, and then it's for you to go into. Now that, you know, that's valid. But otherwise, no, it's too tricky a thing. It's too nebulous a subject unless you've got evidence in front of you, and you've got really a way to deal with it, a way through to deal with it in the person in front of you or in yourself. And that will depend on your own intuitive awareness. So that's my answer to you. And I hope you enjoyed that. I hope the viewers have enjoyed this rather strange session. And if you have, please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll be back again next week with something completely different. Until then, bye for now.